Hello everybody and welcome back to this tutorial. So we're going to continue making this cool floor that's popping up when you're running around. So this is the mesh we made, but we deleted it, and in the VFX graph we have a minimal system and you're just going to build it up. So it looks like this, and here I'm going to remove, and I'm going to make sure we have output lit mesh. Output particle URP lit mesh. So we made a black cube, so you can use to just have this cube if you want, the default Unity have, or your custom one. I'm gonna have this black cube mesh, and also the shader we made in the last one, and it's important to make sure you have it compatible with the Unity VFX graph, or what it says in the shader. So here we're gonna have a burst, because we're only gonna do this one time. We're gonna just make single burst. And if we have this one down here, we can see the scene at the same time. So what we want to do now, we're gonna make a grid. So it's gonna be 20 units by 20 units. So we need an integer, so this is going to be the grid size. And we're going to make the default by 20 pieces. So if we do the grid size, so what we know, we want 20 by 20. So we just do a multiply 20 by 20 and put it into the count. So that means we need 400 pieces. So in the initialized particles, we make sure we have at least 400 available. So I'm going to make 1 million. We can have 1 million particles in this system. So this is nice. And here we need to do set position and set size. And I'm going to make sure the size is 1 for now. And if we save this, I was expecting us to see the cube here. We don't do that. Output particle lit mesh. No. We want to have output particle URP lit mesh. Wasn't that the one I had? I'm not sure. Let's do it one more time. Let's see. We save it. So I don't really know. It was a little bit buggy, I believe, but I removed this node again. And then I reapplied this shader that we made in the last one, and now it works. Some strange behavior. And I also put this set position here, but I don't think that was a solution, but now at least I see the cube. So what's happening here is that this cube is actually 400 cubes. So let's make this grid. So it's going to be 20 by 20, like 20 by 20. So if we do the grid size, and then we take the particle ID. So if we take the particle ID, and then we do a modulo, and do like this. So now, and we make a vector, and we plug it into X. Now what will happen is we will see 20 of them. Well, we're supposed to see 20 of them. And if we save and okay, restart. So why isn't this working? The grid size is 20. And we're taking the particle ID, single burst, set the position. Okay, I'm gonna restart Unity and see if that works. So I restarted and now we see it as we should. So what's happening here? Now it's 1 up to 20, and when the particle ID 21 starts, it goes back as a 1. So we got 20 times 20 here. So this is nice, and now we want it to kind of, on the set, we want to add them as well. So what we do, we just do a divide. If we take the grid size and the particle ID and divide with the grid size and put it to the Z, now you see we have the grid like this. Then we just need to offset it to be in the center. So what we do here is to multiply this with 0.5 and then we just do vector free. And what we want to do, we want to offset the X position and Z position. So then we just do a subtract like this. And now we have it in the center. So yeah, and it works. So make sure you have it in the world settings, because if you have it local here, then it will follow the player, and we want it to be in the world. So we have it here. This is good. And the next thing I want to do, I want to have smaller boxes, because I think it's they are a little bit too big. So I want them to be smaller, and also I'm going to offset it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a new one, float here. And this is going to be the box size. And so now if we scale it, let's say we have the box size, instead of 1 we do 0.5. That means we need to have the double amount of boxes here. So if we do on the beginning, if we do divide 20 by the size, so in this case 0.5, that means that this will turn out to be 40. And if we do 40 times 40, we will have 1,600 instead. So now it's a little bit offset like this, but we're going to sort it out, because now we need to adjust it over here. And the grid size is no more 20, it's actually 40, as we said. So we can just copy this part here. So if we copy this part here and plug this one in here, now we have the correct size. This is nice. And also we want to scale it down to be the correct size. So the only thing we need to do is to add vector, do a vector free like this, and we need to have an add node here. So, well, actually, we don't need a vector, because we can do like this. If we take the add vector and open it up here, we can just change to vector free here. So, well, actually, now I'm doing another thing. Sorry for confuse you, but what I'm doing here, I'm actually gonna, before I scale this one down, we're also gonna offset the boxes so we always walk on them. So what I'm doing here is, now we're gonna subtract this part, so it's actually walking on it. And instead of hard code the number, we can do the box size. and we need to lower it the half size. And also we're going to do it the negative. So we're going to add a negative half size of the box. So now the character is walking on it instead. And also, the last thing is to just do the set size here. Into the size, of course. So now you see it's walking on it. The last part is just to scale it down again. So the only thing we need to do is to multiply all the big grid with the box size like this. So if we do this, now we have it walking on the grid like this. So this is super nice. And also you see it's a little bit offset here. So it's not actually aligning perfectly. It's a little bit, what I'm trying to show you is that it's actually not aligning perfectly here. So what we need to do to solve that, we need to, here we need to subtract 1. And now you see it works. I'm not really sure the math behind it, but I just figured it out that if you do -1 here before you calculate the offset. So this is when you take the grid size and then you divide it, or yeah, with the divide it, and just do a -1 unit first. So now we got the grid up and running. So this is super nice. The next thing we're gonna do is to actually, let's see. Yeah, so you see them, they are all facing the same angle. So I'm gonna just change the angles as well, and doing a little bit here. I'm gonna do set angle. But before I do the angle part, I'm just going to make sure we have a also set custom attribute, because we also need to set a custom attribute, and the custom attribute is the rest position. And it's going to be a vector free like this, and because we always need to know where they're going to be when they are in rest position, because we're going to add some noise to it. So now we have everything set up for the position. So in order to do the angle, because we want it to be we want it always to be 90 in different angles. So what we can do, if we create the vector, and then it's pretty easy. So if we do like this, if we do a random number, and we not make it constant, we do it different in each node. And if we make a ceiling and we make a multiply, and we just link them together like this. So what I will do here is, if I do -0.99 and 3, so what will happen here is that the random number are going to be to almost 1 and up to 3. This means when we do the ceiling, it will only be 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's actually 4 different values because we're doing the ceiling. And then if we multiply with 90, now we will rotate the X 4 steps. And the step is always a 90-degree angle. So if we save this one, now you can see there is some variation on this one. So if we look here, you can see this one and this one is not rotated the same way. So that's just nice to have that variation. And I'm just gonna duplicate this thing and do it on all of them. So I'm just gonna plug it on in here and here. And the reason I do it 3 times and not just plug the same one in there, because I have not constant in them. I will get different rotation on each here. Otherwise it will be kind of a pattern going on. So now it's rotated different, all of them. So this is super nice. And I see it's here, it's also a little bit offset. Actually, it seems like, oh man, what have I done? So there's some stuff going on here. I'm gonna see if I can address it. So I'm gonna see if we... So here, when we calculate the set position, if we do a floor here, yeah, that's sorting it out. Because then each step, it will be always a whole number and not a comma. Cool, this took longer time than I thought. So actually I'm gonna stop here and do the rest of the tutorial in the next one. Otherwise it gets too long tutorial. So what we have here, we have everything set up. In the next tutorial, I'm gonna make sure that we fade out and in the cubes. So thank you so much for watching and see you in the next tutorial.